Redirecting. My feed is should be coming up any second here. There we go. We're live. All right, so we are live. I'm going to activate the presentation mode. Everybody should be seeing the presentation now.
Right on.
Yeah.
Okay, and last piece of business before we get started, checking through the list. We have everybody's names correct. So I will go ahead and get started with the intro and then turn it over to Kathy. Thank you, everybody, for joining the East Springfield Neighborhood Council Board and Police Beat meeting for 5/19/2020. Right now, we are live on Facebook at MyESNC, so facebook.com/MyESNC or at myesnconline.com. If anyone is hearing me say this, then you've already found that and you know that that's the case. The thing I would say is during the meeting, we will take questions and answer them for either any of the people from the Springfield Police Department who are here to present the crime report, or for any of the board members for any of other neighborhood issues that are going on. Also, I would like to ask for anyone to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're trying to get to 100 likes so I can secure the name MyESNC. If anyone is watching this, please do not try to secure it before, because I will spam you. I'm just joking. I'm not going to spam it. So that being said, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Kathy and flip to the beginning.
Let us start with a pledge to the flag, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America,
And to the
and the
republic
republic
for which it stands, one nation,
nation under God,
God, indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. As Guy said, welcome to the East Springfield Neighborhood Council Board and Police Beat Management Team meeting. We are very happy that you're able to join us tonight. And we do have a quorum. All of our board is here except for Marie Koski, who will be joining in very soon. She's actually at another meeting, Zoom meeting, representing the Neighborhood Council. We also have with us, go down the names. I'm Kathy Brown. Marie will be joining us. Peggy Shea is here. Brenda Spalding, Lynn Burnett, Guy Kennison, Lucy Champagne, and Ken Gillette will be popping in a few minutes. We will also have Irene Kennison here with us and John Costa. We also have in the room City Councilor Michael Fenton, and we have our ordinance officer, Officer Vasquez, and we have Lieutenant Toledo with us tonight, and we will reintroduce them a little later when we start the police portion of our meeting. We will continue the digital format of meetings until further notice. So mark your calendar, the first and the third Tuesday of every month. And we want to hear from you. We need to hear from you. Your ideas, your concerns, your comments are critically important as we work to protect, improve, and preserve the quality of life in our neighborhood. So please be sure that you type in some questions tonight, or send us an email with other questions that you have. You can send them to the Neighborhood Council at contact@myesnc.com. Okay. We are working on our newsletter, and it's almost ready to go to the printer, and it's going to be, as usual, mailed to every single residential address in the field. So thank you for the people who have submitted ideas for that newsletter. 311 is operational, and we do encourage you to use it. It's a wonderful opportunity to get your questions answered, and it has not gone down at all during this pandemic time. So use it, dial into it, and help protect, improve, and preserve the quality of life in our neighborhood, and get your general city questions answered. The next topic is the St. James Avenue, St. James Boulevard, Crew Street intersection. The state is still working on the 25% design. I was fortunate to receive a communication from the state this week to let me know that they are actively working on it, and they are looking for a few resources and some names of people of some of the businesses up in that St. James area so that they could reach out. So I'm very encouraged that they're heading towards that 25% design. But again, we don't have a public hearing date set. We're continuing to try to outreach to businesses and residents, and we're looking to get as many email addresses as we can, and especially addresses for new neighbors so that we can reach out to them. If you're hearing this, and if you did not get an email from us reminding you of tonight's meeting, for some reason, we don't have your correct email in our email list. So if you could just email us your email address, or email us so we'll know your email address, then we'll be sure to be able to connect with you. Thank you. Next item, the Community Preservation Act application. As I said, Marie and John Kosky are on a Zoom meeting right now.
We're back, Kathy.
Oh, you're back? Okay, they're welcome. Thank you for presenting at the Community Preservation Act meeting. We sent in the application, and then we as a neighborhood have the ability to have a 5-minute presentation on each of the proposals that we sent in. Marie, do you want to just mention the 2 proposals, or do you want me to?
Okay, I can. The 2 proposals. The first is to replace the splash pad that we have at Marshall Roy Field. That's all currently full of huge cracks and grass growing up, and the water doesn't always spray the way it should. And the other is a half-mile walking loop around the perimeter of Marshall Roy Field. I got some positive feedback. There's some suggestions they made that I'll share afterwards, just in terms of maybe some additional information that they would like, the CPC people would like. But I thought it was positively.
Great.
One question was, do we have any other spray splash type structure in East Springfield? And that was a pretty quick no. This is it.
Right. Okay. Marie, thank you. John, thank you very much. The charter school did present at our last meeting, the Springfield Prep Inclusion School, and they are interested in going on Roosevelt Avenue next to the Big Y headquarters. They're actually going to the city's planning board on the 3rd of June. And the city's working out a Zoom kind of meeting, and also the ability for people to see that meeting on the public access channel. So if you are interested in more information on that, if you want to connect with us, and we will also put it on Nextdoor and on our Facebook page when we get a little bit more clarity. My next topic that I have is Palmer Paving is requesting a variance from the zoning ordinance to erect a membrane structure on their site on Capitol Drive. This is required by the Mass DOT. They did present at our meeting 2 weeks ago, and they will actually be having their meeting with the city, maybe the end of this month, maybe early next month. As soon as we get a date, we'll also present that date to you. On a very positive note, Palmer Paving, when I was talking to Palmer Paving about the variance, I asked them if they had a little extra asphalt, if they could fill in that great big pothole in front of our office, and they did. And they've done a marvelous job. So I thank them for filling in that huge pothole. It's park department or school department property, nobody's really sure. But anyway, they filled in the pothole, and so now we don't have to be so worried about twisting our ankle. Okay, thank you. Next guy. Hello.
My fault, sorry.
That's okay.
I was responding to the Facebook feed.
Oh, okay. I'm going to pass the meeting over to John Kosky, who's going to just talk a little bit about driving a safer East Springfield.
It's not on the agenda, and just want to remind folks that as you're driving the neighborhood, check your speed. it certainly has been a little bit crazy on our streets, and that's been acknowledged by Springfield City Police and by the state police, and they're doing things to help us out. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. But the electronic speed boards, you're probably aware that we received a grant to purchase 3 of those. We have them. They've been delivered to the DPW. The DPW has everything they need to install them, and they've committed to do that in the next couple of weeks. One at the St. James Avenue curve, one on Page Boulevard near Bertram Street, and then the last one over on Worcester Street. So we're looking forward to getting those in place. Drive like your kids live here, as you're probably aware. We've promoted these in the past as a neighborhood initiative to try to get folks to slow down. During the winter months, we kind of got away from it because it was hard. It's hard to put them in the ground when the ground's froze. But we're back, and we've got a supply of Drive Like Your Kids Live Here signs. They can be purchased for $8 a piece. You can call me at 413-734-6362 or email me. And I think, Guy, they can see the email address, or we'll have that posted out there, my email address, or the East Springfield Neighborhood Council's email address. And we'll arrange for either me to drop it by your location, or you can come by my location and pick it up. So anyone interested in purchasing a
Can you
sign?
use the house phone number?
Yes.
Okay.
Anyone interested in purchasing a sign? There's contact information available there on the site. And in regards to the speeding in the neighborhood, and the neighbors have commented that they've noticed that the amount of speeding and reckless driving has increased over the past few weeks. We have been in touch with the Springfield Police Traffic Bureau. They are conducting a number of speed initiatives, which includes enforcement details with the speed board, portable electronic speed board. And they did one of those last week on Page Boulevard. So they are active. They are working with us to help address some of the speed issues in our neighborhood. That's all I had for Driver Safer East Springfield.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Irene, are you with us?
Irene was not able to attend tonight. She got tied up, so I'm going to actually cover for her.
Okay, sounds like a plan.
So we have started preparing the art out of the box boxes. As you can see from some of the pictures here, these are, some of the items that are going in the packages. Last night we were watching Friends reruns and stuffing, bags of stuff. So it was very exciting. But we'll have the 200 boxes done over the next couple weeks. Right now, I know that there's going to be a few different ways to get the information out. We're going to have contact information in the newsletter that goes out to the whole area that will allow people to contact us to get signed up for a drop-off or pickup. We will also put the information on our social pages once they're set. It's just a matter of getting them all organized. There's going to be everything from, crayons to paint supplies to googly eyes, and I forgot what those things are called that have the fuzzy thing and they twist. But lots of stuff. Plus,
Fuzzy things that twist, I think.
Fuzzy, that's the official name. Okay, excellent.
I think so, yeah.
I'm glad I'm covering this part for Irene today because it's very professional.
Probably a good thing she's not here. Oh.
Yeah, but other than that, it will be all put together and situated, and then Irene's going to do some videos that we're going to put on our YouTube channel for some projects she's going to do out of the boxes. There's also a second project that is in the planning stages now. We did get approval to proceed with the plan, but I was told not to bring up the details of that until after it's completely worked out. So we'll probably talk about that on the next meeting. No one has any questions? That is the info on that, and I'll go to the next slide.
Okay.
Okay.
Michael Fenton, City Councilor Michael Fenton, if you wanted to address some water department proposed increases.
Sure. Thank you, Kathy. for putting up this slide. This is a rough summary that I put together for a hearing that the council had earlier today with the Water and Sewer Commission. These are my numbers. They're accurate, but nevertheless prepared by me based on the Water and Sewer Department's budget over the last 6 fiscal years and the city's property tax data over the last 6 fiscal years. Not going to break it down in great detail, except to highlight a few things. The Water and Sewer Commission is proposing close to a 17% increase in our rates for fiscal year starting July 1st. That equates to a 12% increase in the average household bill. And that's after a 10% increase that we saw last year, 7% the year before that, and 4% for each of the preceding 2 fiscal years. That adds up to a whopping 43% increase on average for homeowners' water and sewer bills over the course of the last 6 fiscal years. That is incredible. When you compare that to the Springfield property tax rate and bill increases, which the city council does have jurisdiction over, unlike the water and sewer bills, we have seen increases in the property tax rates and the property, not in the rate, the rate's been very stable, but the bills have gone up because of values. But if you look at this chart on the bottom, you can see that the changes that the homeowners have seen on property tax increases have been much closer to cost of living amounts, somewhere floating around 3.5% in aggregate. You can see it everywhere from 15 to 16, there was a small decrease. And then last year we saw the largest jump, which was almost 5.5%. That totals during that same period of time, an increase in property tax bills of just over 18% over the last 6 years. That's high, but not uncustomary for increases and adjustments in municipal budgeting. So when you look at this against the water department data, water commission data, it's just, it's unconscionable really. And it leads me to the conclusion that one of 2 things is happening. Either the department isn't doing a good job of monitoring spending and they're spending willy-nilly, or they've been historically underfunded and need some access to capital in order to complete their essential service projects to provide us with good sewer and water service. Either way, we made it clear, and I made it clear to the commission earlier today, that a 17% increase is just not something that we can take. And it's particularly alarming when you look at the data over the last 6 fiscal years. So that is to tell everybody that you should speak up and have your voice heard. There is going to be a hearing with the Springfield Water and Sewer Commission on this subject. It is scheduled for June 2nd, Tuesday, June 2nd at 6 p.m. You can participate by phone or by Zoom. The telephone call-in number is 413-261-6430. And the conference ID number, I'm sorry, not Zoom, but the conference ID number, once you dial into that phone number, is 566-881-166. Oh, it's right there. Thank you. Oh, you have it up. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
And the live streaming link is there, and we will post it a couple days before on the Facebook page and next door and all that jazz.
Yeah, so in conclusion, it's outrageous, and speak up.
Okay. Thank you very much, Michael. We appreciate your time. Okay, I'd like to turn the meeting over to John Koski. John is the chairperson of our community police team, and he will introduce or reintroduce the police department representatives, and then we'll hear from the officers. Thank you.
That was great. Thank you, Kathy. I'd like to welcome tonight Lieutenant Julio Toledo, who will give us our sector reporting. Sue Haley Arce, who's our community police liaison, our ordinance officer, Julio Vasquez, and also with us this evening, we have Charles Ruck from the Sheriff's Department. So we will, everybody will have an opportunity here, but we'd like to start, if you would, Lieutenant Toledo, if you would bring us up to speed with our latest activity report.
Okay, great. My name is Lieutenant Julio Toledo. I'm new to this meeting. I've been to several other meetings. I'm filling in for, everyone can see me here. I'm filling in for Lieutenant Geyer and Lieutenant Ariel Toledo, who couldn't make it to the meeting today. So I'm going to go over some of the crime data here. It looks like, if you have the slides up, I'm not sure, but looks like we were looking at 4 burglaries / breaking and entries between April 12th and May 9th. 2 thefts from motor vehicles. So that's a total of 6 calls there. There were 8 arrests in the area between April 12th and May 9th, 2020. A couple hotspot calls that we're talking about here. 1 was drug activity, 2 were gun calls, 3 were shots fired. Those are shot spotter activations, or people from the public who called because they may have heard shots fired. I know 2 of them were calls for service where it was actually a car backfiring, and we ruled that out. So with regard to quality of life calls, there were 33 unnecessary noise calls, 11 suspicious person calls, 4 suspicious motor vehicle calls, and 11 suspicious activity calls. So that's a total of 59 calls for service between that time frame, which is good. We always encourage the public, if they see something, say something. It's always encourage the public to call the police with regard to any activity. I mean, something that might not seem suspicious to you may seem suspicious to us. So we always encourage the public to call the police. I'm going to talk a little bit about the arrest. Incidentally, there was, of the arrests, I was actually involved in about half of them. I currently assigned to the Squad C Uniform Division. I'm originally from the North End C3 unit. I know many of you from going to the C3 meetings, but currently I'm assigned to the sector, the north side of the city. With regard to the speeding, I heard a couple of you guys mention the speeding problem. Captain Martin from the Traffic Bureau has put out a couple of details, and Lieutenant Ariel Toledo has also put some details where they've performed LiDAR on that Page Boulevard corridor and the other areas that you guys had complaints about. They had a lot of actually citations and a couple of criminal complaints with regard to motor vehicle violations. The arrest at 65 Redland Street, we had arrest Mr. Andre Davey. He was arrested for breaking and entering daytime and larceny over at that address. And that happened on April 13th. Shortly after, and a couple days later, 5 days later, we had a Cynthia Torres. She was arrested for malicious damage to a motor vehicle, and assault and battery by means of a dangerous weapon at that address. The other handful of arrests that I'm going to discuss are related to a drag racing issue that I have been tasked to address. And it's been my experience after having dealt with this drag racing issue for like the last 2 years now, is that when the weather gets warmer in the beginning of April, early May, they will have incidents of drag racing, specifically in the north end on Bernie Ave, but we have seen it on Industry Ave, which falls under Sector C, and we've seen it on Worcester Street and Indian Orchard, which is Sector D. By any measure, we've been highly successful in addressing this because we've been pursuing it with aggressive enforcement. It's understood that we won't tolerate this behavior, and we go out there and hand out a variety of motor vehicle violations, and we've made arrests, and we will tow the vehicles as well. This has had a positive impact on the issue. And initially, in the beginning of the spring, you'll see anywhere as many as 100 cars out there, and we have successfully been able to at least dual it down to a reduced number of cars where we can control. Ultimately, what happens is by the middle of summer, they understand that we're going to be out there enforcing, and they go somewhere else like Hartford, Connecticut, which is a very popular spot. So these next arrests, actually, I was involved with was Memorial Drive. And that was Mr. Emmanuel Sandovar, and he was, of course, out there racing his car, and he was driving without a license, and a marked lane violation, and he had an open container of marijuana in the car, so he was placed under arrest. The other individual was actually, unfortunately, he was involved in a car accident where he rear-ended someone on the corner Page Boulevard and right in front of O'Brien's Corner. This was Mr. Daryl Jones. Mr. Daryl Jones was definitely overindulged, and he was arrested for operating under the influence of alcohol, and he also had a little bit of crack cocaine on him, so he was placed under arrest. The next one was Mr. Luis Garcia. Same thing. It was after midnight. We were working a drag race detail, and he had an arrest warrant. He was placed under arrest. The next individual was Mr. Luis Rosario. Same set of circumstances. It was a drag race detail. We were out there. Mr. Luis Rosario was also operating without a license. He had his car modified for racing by putting the tires past the fender. He had a modified exhaust and license plate violations. He was placed under arrest. And Mr. Justin Serrano, same thing, Industry Ave, there for the drag racing. And he was operating with a suspended license, also modified height, modified exhaust on his vehicle. And the last person that was placed on arrest was Mr. Angel Valentin, and he had a parole violation. So those are your arrests that happened there. Again, we've been aggressively pursuing the drag race issue. And by any measure, we've been very successful at targeting this issue. And my hope is that in the next couple of weeks, it'll be a dead issue. It won't be an issue. With regard to the speeding violators on Page Boulevard, I'm certain that the captain will continue to deploy his traffic officers out there and put a speedboard officer, strike that a speedboard out there to discourage or deter people from speeding on those roads. I'd be happy to answer any questions for anybody that has any questions.
I happened to be in the driveway the other day, and I noticed a spent 22 round in my driveway. Just the bullet part of the round, the fired round in my driveway. I didn't notice any damage to my vehicle or my house. I'm not quite sure how I got there. Didn't know whether it was anything I should turn over to you or.
Yeah, when did this happen? When did you find that?
On Saturday.
Okay. Yeah, that's important that you turn that into. Did you call the police when you found it?
I didn't. It was just laying in the corner of my driveway, and I picked it up and looked at it, and it looked like a spent round. Maybe it's not, but it has rifling on it, marks on it. It looks like rifling marks on the round and things, and it's so.
So are you thinking it's the fragment or a shell casing?
It's the actual bullet part of the round.
Okay, all right.
Is what it appears to me to be.
Would you have it still?
Yeah, I still have it. Yes.
You can show it to him.
I don't know whether the camera will pick up.
Well, you don't have to show it now, but I can send somebody over there to take a look at it, and certainly interested in that for sure. Anytime anyone encounters something like that, I would encourage you to call the police and let us handle it. Sometimes we can get fingerprints, or maybe we can connect it to a firearm, assuming that it is in fact a bullet projectile.
Right, if it is,
So,
yes.
What time do you think?
Yeah, if you want, we can stay on the meeting for a few minutes after we close, and then you can get that specific address from him.
Yep, sounds great. That'll be perfect. Yep, that'll be perfect.
You.
We can do that. No problem. Does anyone else have any other questions?
I have a few questions that came in through the website and through Facebook. So I'm going to go through those now.
Okay.
And just so you know, there are some addresses provided on these. So I'm going to provide the street information, but then I'll email you guys the addresses and stuff afterwards. Just so that way, it's not on the
I understand.
It's a little sensitive. Some of it's a little.
I understand.
All right. So there was a few things for ordinance on Ann Street. There is a truck and carrier. I know that this came up. I think it was like the last few meetings before we were not having live meetings, probably a few months ago. There was a tow vehicle that was being parked there. There were some reports made. The neighbors have said that the tow truck is going back. So I know that You had worked on that before, Officer Vasquez, but they're saying that the tow truck is back again on Ann Street. Then there's also another oversized vehicle that has started parking on Windermere Street, which is on the part of Windermere Street closer to Page Boulevard, down by like the Fetz area, not in front of Fetz, but closer to that direction of Windermere. The next one we had, and these ones here, for the ordinance ones, if there's anything you want to go over for ordinance or on these, or, you know, if you take notes for the next meeting, should I keep going or?
You can keep going. I'm writing them down.
Keep going.
Okay, cool. There is on Arthur Street, a large trailer hooked up to a dark gray Ford pickup that's parked on the road. It's causing basically a backup. They provided the address and the information for the plates and stuff. So I'll send that over to you in the email as well.
Okay.
The next one is Sargon Street. Neighbors are reporting that there's a expected or drug activity that could be happening, and they provided some information on where they think it's coming from. There's cars going through at different hours with handoffs and stuff going on. So, like I said, I won't provide the actual details from here, but I'll email that to you afterwards. The next thing is there's two people, and I know we touched base this right before we went live, but some people had asked what happened on Page Boulevard today. So that was the first one.
Okay, I mean, do you have any more specific details with regard to time or?
I actually, this was the thing I think that Officer Vasquez had given us some information on right before we went live.
Okay,
That was a car chase. That was
Yeah.
a car chase that started by state police in Chicopee, and it ended up on Page Boulevard by Osborne Terrace with an accident.
Okay. So for the person who asked the question, that's the details on that, and I'm sure that'll end up on next month's report, I assume, Officer Vasquez?
Okay. Yes, sir.
All right, and then somebody also asked for Page Boulevard as well. Sorry, I'm looking at my phone and the email and a few other places. On Friday, apparently, Friday the 8th, well, that one we may have to come back with. I'll put that on the typed report. Apparently, Friday the 8th, there was state police circling Page Boulevard from St. James Boulevard to the CrossFit. And the CrossFit is the one that, what's that street that connects to the other side of the park, Kathy? Oh, no, it's not the CrossFit.
El Paso?
Oh, the CrossFit on Page. I believe that's the one that's up by that Dunkin' Donuts on the other end of Page. Apparently, there was state police circling on the 8th. So,
Second Street, over by Second? I don't know, I'm shooting in the dark here. But
it says Page Boulevard from St. James to Page, but it was by the CrossFit. And
Which is
Oh, by
right
El
near-
Paso.
right,
Paso.
El Paso.
the person who asked the question was Deb. Deb, if you have details, I know for CrossFit on Page, there was a CrossFit, Guion Street, she said?
Guion is over by CRRC. Oh, no, I'm sorry, Guion is up by the old Smith and Wesson Academy.
There was,
Okay, it's the old CrossFit that went out of business, the one that they're looking to put, they had petitioned to put a marijuana establishment.
311 Page Boulevard.
Yep.
So there was
Uh,
something, you're saying something went on there?
Yeah, apparently Friday the 8th, there was state police activity, so,
I know there was a state police helicopter circling. I don't know if she's talking about the helicopter or specific cars.
The
Lieutenant.
state police, can I interject here?
Yeah, go ahead.
State police helicopter was out there because we have an issue that's going all over the city with the dirt bikes, and so they were assisting Springfield police with dirt bikes in the city. That's why the helicopter was up in the air. The helicopter wasn't specifically for that reason, but the helicopter was assisting us on that issue.
Great,
Very good.
very good.
All right. The next one was Marshall Roy Park. This weekend there was a vehicle that parked in the actual park itself, and it was behind the neighborhood council building. They actually took oversized like party speakers, put it on the top of their car, and were just blasting music. So some of the neighbors called in. The police were sent out, and it looks like they gave them a warning to start. They turned the music down. They left. Then they started their music back up a couple minutes later. The police were called out again. They came back. They got them to kill the music, but it took a while. There's details for like which car was dispatched, but the couple questions were, one, if somebody is parked in the actual park with their vehicle, why wouldn't it have been where the person's given a ticket and forced to move immediately, not where they can stay in the park with their vehicle?
Okay, well, is an educated answer as to why. So there's a lot of variables here. If the person had a permit to be there, I find it interesting that someone would just park their car and put the loudspeakers out there in a park. Obviously, you have to have a permit to do that. I don't think that the city would allow a permit under these circumstances, because of what we're dealing with COVID-19. But I can't give you, I don't know enough about the circumstances to give you an educated answer. I'm purely speculating here. The other thing is, if the person, it depends on the time of day as well. If you're in the park after dark, any city park in Springfield, it's trespassing and it's an arrestable offense. So I don't know what time of day this was or what time of day, I really don't know anything about that other than what you're telling me. So I'd have to look up the circumstances and the call for service to see what the outcome was, whether or not there were issued a violation, whether or not they were given a verbal warning. Certainly, again, I strongly encourage citizens to call the police. I'm a citizen of Springfield myself, and anytime you see any activity like that, and we call the police because one hand washes the other, of course. And again, but without knowing more details on that, it's the first time I'm hearing of this, I wouldn't be able to give you an educated answer. I can only speculate.
No, that's perfect. And I can get you the info. Like I said, some of this stuff people put like actual addresses and stuff like that. But
No, I understand.
So
I understand.
We'll get it to you.
I'll get you that after this for a follow-up. The next one, sorry, there's a lot of them that are coming through. This one was more of a quality of life, and this may be a takeaway for the council. This to go to the DPW, this was someone's wanting a traffic light considered on the corner of East and Bowles Park. I'm going to get all the details for this. So the person who asked this question, what I'll do is I'll get this, we'll get back to you after the meeting, because there's a long thing about where to put the traffic light. And that's probably
Okay.
more of like a DPW than the police question. One plus is there are 3 locations, like John said earlier, that are getting speed boards. And that should help hopefully this summer with some of this. And then let's see, the next one is Counselor Orlando Ramos is logged into the Facebook feed. And he had asked, dirt bikes last summer, he sponsored 2 pieces of legislation that helped the Springfield Police Department address the issue of illegal dirt bikes and off-highway vehicles. One was an ordinance which established fines. The second being a home rule position, which would allow SPD to confiscate the vehicle after one major incident. He states a chapter in there, MGL Chapter 90B, Section 26B, negligent or reckless operation. Is there anything else the city council can do to help the police department address these issues?
I think the city council has been active in aiding us with the issues. Of course, and just the existing mass general laws right now under Chapter 90, any off-road vehicle, for instance, a dirt bike or a quad, it's unlawful to ride it in a public way anywhere in the city of Springfield. That said, anything that's unlawful in the city of Springfield as it relates to dirt bikes or quads is an arrestable offense. After the individuals are placed in the custody, assuming that happens, these vehicles then can be seized, and then if the city council, from what I understand from what Mr. Ramos is suggesting, the bikes could be destroyed. I know I've seen Hartford, Connecticut has been active in that, where they actually crush the dirt bikes. I think that would be something that we could explore here as well. But that's assuming that the individual has had his day in court and has been found responsible for the allegations. So it certainly is a time-consuming process. But in terms of I think that the city council has been supportive of us on that issue.
Thank you. And thank you, Councilor Ramos, for attending and asking the question. Next one, this was a question this was something that Kathy was actually working on prior about an unregistered vehicles with the police and ordinance. So there's a lot of details. I don't know if it's good for the live feed, so I'll save this and then we'll do a follow-up for the next meeting on this. And just for everyone who's watching to know, so I'm just making sure on these questions and stuff, because some of the stuff could be sensitive. I don't want to publish it out everywhere and say it on the video. So we are going to forward all the information off if I get it from emails or from whatever. But I don't, it's in the live feed, but I'm not trying to, bring stuff up and be on the video feed. And then the last thing I have that came through was just a follow-up on the dirt bikes question. This was actually, I think, directed to Councilor Ramos, because they'd like to know how to recognize a vehicle under 50 cc's. We'll send that over to the police and to the counselor to see how to identify that properly.
Well, can I address that?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sure.
If there's anything I say wrong, just cut me off, because I'm making this up as I go along.
So there's a lot of confusion. I just am educated on this because I personally ride motorcycles myself. So and obviously I've been tasked with addressing this issue as well. What we have to understand about these dirt bikes is, if you see a bike and it does not have, the easiest way to do it for someone that has no idea what they're looking at, the easiest way to do it is, if you look at a bike and it does not have a headlight or brake light or turn signal lights, then you can safely, as a citizen, as an ordinary citizen, you can safely assume that dirt bike is not street legal. In order for any motorized vehicle to be on the road, they have to have brake lights, headlights, and signal lights, and it has to have a working horn. These off-road vehicles are not designed to be on the street, and that's why they don't have headlights and brake lights and signals and a horn or a windshield. The other way you can, with regard to, I believe the question was referencing, how do you know it's over 49 cc's? If you look at a motorcycle, I mean, if you have an opportunity, because sometimes they're driving by so fast you can't see it. If you happen to look at a motorcycle and you see a number on the side of it, it might say Kawasaki 150 or Suzuki 600. That number, that 3-digit number, sometimes it's a 4-digit number, is actually the number of the cc's in the vehicle. So if you saw Husqvarna 150, and it says 150 on the side, that indicates that the vehicle's engine is 150 cc's. So that now I wouldn't necessarily focus on the size of the engine. What you really should focus on is whether or not the motorcycle is equipped with the proper equipment to include headlights, brake lights, and signal lights in front and back. If it doesn't, it's probably going to be an illegal bike that shouldn't be on the road. Also, the operator has to be operating with the proper protective eyewear if it's not a full face helmet, or a proper DOT helmet, which usually has a stamp in the back of the helmet that says DOT, Department of Transportation. If the individual riding a motorcycle or street off-road bike is operating that vehicle without a DOT helmet, that vehicle couldn't be towed and the operator can be fined. And if the operator doesn't have a license, he can be arrested. When you're driving a motor or a dirt bike, off-road vehicle, any off-road vehicle in the city of Springfield is not permissible on our public ways. And just the simple fact that you're operating that vehicle on a public way in the city of Springfield is an arrestable offense. Beyond it, you don't have to go any further than that. You don't have to wait till the person commits a traffic violation or drives erratically. Just the simple fact that the person is operating it on a public way is arrestable. So I know that was a long answer to your short question, but hopefully
No, I appreciate the clarity, because it is a question that we frequently get, and you really explained it so that it's very easy to understand. So thank you.
My pleasure. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, that was the main questions. So thank you for answering all of those. And I know that there was another page to the slide which had the updated important numbers and tips, and there's an update to the number, and there's also a call trace system. So I didn't know if someone from the police department or Suhaili wanted to just cover the updates to the call-in system and the number.
Right. I just unmute myself. Hello, good evenings. I am Suhaili Arce, the Community Police Liaison. Do you guys hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So yes, I do want to share with you all that we have transferred over to a new telecommunication system. So when you do dial the 787-6302 number, which was our non-emergency number that we shared with you all for several years, you will encounter several new options where you can dial 1 for a specific area, dial 8 for ordinance, or 7 for your community police liaison. After that particular message, we're currently working on, and we are working on tweaking it, where in the beginning of the message, it allows individuals to know and understand that after that prompt is over, you can stay on the line and it will transfer you over to dispatch. There were some slight glitches in the system where it's taking a little bit longer, but it's definitely something that they are working on. So our new non-emergency number that we are giving out to the public would be 787-6300. But either way, 787-6302 will also get you to our non-emergency dispatch, but it will take a bit more time versus dialing 787-6300.
Thank you. Okay. Did we introduce Charles Rux from the Sheriff's Department? John? You want to throw it back to you, John? Okay, we did. Okay, thank you. I'm sorry I didn't. And Suhaili, do you have anything else that you'd like to say?
Well, thank you. That's it for now. Thank you, Kathy.
John, anything else?
I just didn't, I presume we covered all the ordinance issues with Officer Vasquez. Anything else with that? I think we got everything.
Officer Vasquez, you have anything else? Are you good?
Kathy, I am monitoring Davis Street in regards to the drug activity in the go-karts. I am doing directive patrols over in that area. I'm also monitoring Cardwell Drive and Watland Street for that gentleman that was involved in that homicide. I don't see any activity. I am doing directive patrols over there. I am driving around Cardwell Drive, Watland Street and Curve Street. In the cruiser, Mark Cruiser. I'm also parking on Caldwell Drive and Watland Street.
Great.
I'm also monitoring the trucks in the residential area, Page Boulevard and Homont Terrace. I haven't seen anything over there. I am aware of the tow truck on Ann Street and Putnam Circle. He has been issued multiple parking violations And Lieutenant Geyer is on board with me. He's also issued them the parking violations too.
Thank you.
There was one other question that came in, it's like a combo question right before the end, so I want to catch it while we can. If somebody notices a scooter or motorcycle that is with a passenger not wearing a helmet, or a person not wearing a helmet, or that it's not registered, should they call into the police and report that?
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay,
And is that a 911 call or a non-emergency call?
I would designate that a non-emergency call unless the person is creating a hazard, a traffic hazard, interfering with the flow of traffic or something of that nature.
Thank you. Okay.
And Officer, we've also noticed in our walks that there's an irregular accumulation of shopping carriages on Carew and Lang Street on the Springfield sewer and water property there, the pumping station.
Okay, there was a 311 complaint earlier.
Yes,
I believe it was Friday, and we took care of that on Friday.
good.
I will go
Very
by
good.
there tomorrow and check it out.
Yeah, if you did that on Friday, that may have taken care of the problem, but
three on the other side of St. James.
right. There were some, we walked up and across the street from there were some carriages parked. So it's a regular
Is it
occurrence.
Burnwall Street or is it right there at Springfield Water and Sewer?
No, on the other side of St. James Avenue.
Yeah, it would have been by Fernwall Street, yes, and Carew.
Okay, I took care of that issue last week. I'll go by there again tomorrow and I'll look to see if there's any more shopping carts there.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
I'd like to thank everybody for watching tonight. And please remember that we'll get back to you with any questions that you presented. And when we have your contact information, and if you have another question, please email us at contact@myesnc.com. Our Springfield police officers are there, the 911 non-emergency number. So have a good week, a good month, be safe, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks on June 2nd at 6:30 at our next meeting. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are we
Thank
all
you.
done